Warning, this show may contain some crude humor and mild swearing. Listener discretion is advised. The show was produced by Geek Happy Network, creators of the very best in audible oracle entertainment. In other words, podcasts. If you enjoy listening to Smörgåsbord, remember to subscribe to the show in Spotify or on your favorite podcast app. Remember to leave a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts. This is Smörgåsbord! Today's topic is a word that I didn't even know was a thing until you texted me, and I was like, transmorgification.
Yeah. Welcome to Smörgåsbord. Today, I'm Mik, as always, and
I'm Angel.
And we're here to talk today about
Transmorgåsbation. Oh, that sounds wrong. Transmorgåsbord.
Yeah. Transubstantiation.
That doesn't even sound like food related, honestly.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of food related.
It's kind of foodie, yeah.
It's transubstantiation.
Substance.
Yes,
Substance.
it's substantiation. Transubstantiation. Substantiation.
We will have this typed out somewhere.
Yeah, I mean
with actual letters.
The episode title will have it. Yeah, but so we're gonna do an episode on transubstantiation. It sounded pretty cool, so we looked up into it last night.
We were very prepared.
Yeah, and it turned out it wasn't as food heavy as it's not gonna be as food heavy, I guess, as other episodes. But we wanted to try something out. It's only episode 3 this time, so why not try something new?
And philosophical.
Yeah, it's a little philosophical. A lot more philosophical than I thought. I thought it would just be about food and cultish stuff, but nope.
Nope.
Mostly philosophy.
Well, Mik is the one who did all the research while I slept. So this is going to be new for me too.
Yeah, so I think today might be a little bit of a shorter episode. We're going to cover the topic of transubstantiation and try to make sense out of it. And then I think we'll talk a little bit about what it really is and
isn't,
and we'll go from there. So, what exactly is transubstantiation? It's a teaching from the Roman Catholic Church and some other denominations of Christianity, but mostly popularized by the Roman Catholics today, which claims that during the sacrament of the Eucharist, the substance of the bread and wine that are offered during the sacrament actually changes to the body and blood of Jesus Christ. Yeah,
it's
there's a
very
lot
cannibalistic.
It's very cannibalistic. There's a lot of strange words in here. We'll get to all
it?
of that.
Okay.
Because I was very confused at first too. But the very basic idea is, I guess in the Catholic Church there's a service that they do called the Mass, which I think most people go to every Sunday or in special occasions, not Sundays. And during that service, there's this ritual that they perform, which is the Sacrament of the Eucharist, where they have this bread and wine that they serve to the people. And this bread and wine, when they goes through the ritual, is what people believe is that when the bread and wine go through the ritual, it completely changes its substance into the flesh and blood of Jesus. I mean, I grew up Catholic back then, so I kind of tried it. It doesn't really taste like blood and flesh. At least not what I expect blood and flesh to taste like, but that's because when they talk about substance changing, it doesn't actually mean it changes its physical appearance.
It's like spirit.
Yeah, sort of. It changes the
Spirit
essence.
bread?
So essentially, it's not bread and wine anymore. It's just flesh and blood.
Spirit bread, Jesus?
Yeah, so it's like spirit bread.
Oh.
So I guess to really explain most of this, let's go through some of the key terms in all of this, because there was a lot of really weird words that came up
Yes,
defining this
please
that I had to look
explain.
into. First thing we could look into is what they actually mean by substance. So when they say in transubstantiation that the substance of the bread and wine changes into the body and blood, what do you think substance there means?
I don't know, man. I am the most atheist person ever. My dad's a Scientologist.
Nice.
We don't know anything about trans subs bread, spirit bread. It's just kind of beyond comprehension for me.
Right. Yeah. So when they say substance here, usually when people talk about substance, it's either substance abuse, like drugs and alcohol, which is, I guess it's part of it because it's wine. But
Right.
that's not the kind of substance they're talking about here.
I would just think of like tangible
Right.
goods.
Yeah, right? So generally speaking, when we talk about substance, we think about something physical, something tangible, something we could hold. Like if I'm holding my wallet right now,
Solid thing.
I'm holding the substance of my wallet,
Yeah.
which is the physical
Your
manifestation.
wallet is a substance.
Yeah, exactly. But when we're talking about substance in terms of transubstantiation, I don't know how to pronounce it anyway.
We'll just go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that one. We talk more about the physical or theological definition of substance, which is a little bit different because philosophers are insane. And I speak as a former philosophy major.
Oh, you majored in insane. Cool.
I did. The word substance comes all the way back from ancient Greece. I'm going to butcher this word, but it's ousia, which is Ousia.
Ouija.
Yeah, sure.
No. Ouija. I don't know where I got the
Yeah.
J from. I was thinking of Ouija board.
Ouisa. Maybe it's
Ouisa.
like Louisiana, so Ouisa? Ouisia?
Ouija.
Yeah. So it comes from a Greek word of that name, which means being. I think if I remember my philosophy classes back in the day, this is what they referred to as like your, also kind of referred to as your kind of personal perspective into the world. So like your being seeing the world obviously is different from my being seeing the world is very different from Angel's being seeing the world.
Right.
That we see the world differently, obviously.
Subjectivity.
Subjectivity, exactly. And I can't perceive what you're perceiving, and I will never understand what you're seeing, or fully understand what you're seeing, because I'm just never.
I've always wondered about
see
how
that.
we see color. It's like when
Yeah.
I see blue, do you see blue? Like we might have the same word for whatever you're seeing.
Yeah,
but
right?
how do I know you're not seeing something completely different?
Yeah, exactly. It's a great example, because especially when you have colorblind people who call blue what we see as green,
Right.
and how do they really see the same blue as we do?
But it's just a name for something.
Exactly. Which then gets into the substance debate of like, can the physical attribute of something really be a substance if it's changing based on different perspectives?
Right.
Anyway.
Mind blown.
So from the word ousia, which means being, that's where the word substance came from. It makes a little bit more sense when we look at the Latin counterpart of this word, which is substantia, which translates into something that stands under or grounds things. So in some way, this definition of substance means the fundamental basis of what makes an object that object.
Right.
So when we're talking about this wallet, I'm holding my wallet up. That's why this wallet reference keeps coming up. When I keep talking about this wallet, has the substance of this wallet is the physical
leather
thing.
or is
Yeah.
it pleather?
Yeah, right. So what makes this wallet a wallet is it its leatheriness? Is it the fact that it holds things?
Stitched together.
Yeah. If you believe in a little bit more, if you define, say, the definition of, if you define, for example, the substance of something to be its atomic structure or components, then you will define that this specific wallet substance is the specific form that it's taking right now.
Right.
Right?
I'm sorry, I don't know the molecular structure of leather.
Yeah. But when you see the molecular structure in some way. So you could define substance that way. So, but essentially substance by this definition kind of means
What something is made of.
yeah, like
Right.
fundamental, like how you would make what makes this thing a thing.
My substance is salt.
The salt levels is different. Well, like you're bringing up right now, right? It's in some ways how you define what makes a thing is very relative. It changes based on how people define it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you believe that atoms are the fundamental, like I mentioned, if you believe that the atoms are the fundamental basis of a being, then certain arrangements of the atoms is how you differentiate between different things. In this case today, though, substance is, the way we define substance is something less physical in definition, more conceptual or spiritual or however you want to call it. So when we say that the substance of bread and wine changes to the flesh and blood of Jesus, we mean that the physical appearance will still look and feel and taste like the bread and wine, but then it's no longer actually in substance a bread and wine, but the flesh and blood of Jesus.
Right.
If that makes any... Yeah.
Because there's definitely not enough Jesus blood or flesh to go around for everybody.
Yeah, right?
Right.
So it's just... Yeah, so I guess that's kind of the best way to explain. It kind of sucked when I found this out because I'm like, oh, damn it. I was hoping it'd be physical so we could talk about the food and cannibalism, but obviously...
We could still talk about cannibalism.
Yeah. I guess so. For if this still doesn't kind of make sense for you, you don't do you watch Game of Thrones?
I quit after season 2.
Okay. I don't know.
But I hear all about it.
Okay.
Everybody tells me about it.
Major spoilers, but it's a good way of explaining it. That's
Yeah.
Okay.
Hit me.
So, big warning, a little bit of a spoiler for Game of Thrones. I mean, it's like 3 seasons in for the spoiler, so hopefully...
Hopefully you're caught up by now.
Yeah, if you get mad at us for this, well, it's your fault.
Start binging.
Yeah. So in Game of Thrones, a good example of how this kind of substance works would be Bran. Where Bran becomes the three-eyed raven, right?
Right.
So he still looks like Bran. He still kind of sounds like Bran. He kind of people keep thinking he's still Bran, but in essence, his mind or soul is a three-eyed raven. He's no longer Bran. He's actually a three-eyed raven, even though people still call him Bran.
Right.
So it's the same thing with this one, where sure it's bread and wine, but the substance of it now is just body and blood.
Right.
That's it. Makes a little bit more sense.
Yes, but I would also feel kind of shortchanged because I expect to taste blood.
Yeah. That's when you have to look at the fine print of the before going to that service. You have to look at the fine print and say, not physically tastes
not
like
actual blood.
So what I mentioned a while ago, that this transubstantiation and this substance change all happens within the sacrament of the Eucharist. I didn't really understand what a sacrament went. Even as
I thought you were the Catholic.
I'm a Catholic. I don't understand what I believe in.
I was told to believe this, and now I believe it.
Exactly.
But now I don't.
No,
because I'm an adult now.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is that how it works?
Yep. I don't know. I'm more of an agnostic person today, so. By sacrament, by definition, is a ceremony or ritual regarded as imparting divine grace. So it's kind of some sort of ceremony or thing to receive God's grace or whatever.
I feel like this kind of
holiness.
thing made more sense back in the day when people didn't have anything to do.
Right. Yeah.
So they have time to make up all the different rituals.
Yeah.
And they're all religious, of course, because church is where you gather.
Yeah.
And do things and be social.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people...
But now we work 12 hours a day.
Exactly. But I think I think from what my understanding of it is, it's a good way for people to just really... Like, my mom's still Catholic, and she describes it as, like, it's just a good time to force yourself, to put you in a place to remind you of your beliefs. So in some ways, that's what this does. It's kind of a way to receive blessing and grace from God without too much of the other shit in life getting in the way. Of course, it's not the only way to receive it. You could pray and shit like that, I think.
You could pray and stuff.
But it's the one most supported by the state. I mean, the church is most supported by the church. In the sense of that, here are some ceremonies and rituals for you to receive God's grace. You could look at it in very obviously different ways. Like a cynic might look at it as a way for the church to make money, while the people who believe in it probably see it more as a way for them to remind themselves of the love, I guess, of their God or whatever. Anyway, I mean, to a believer, it's probably just a way to see God it's a way for them to have God be involved in their lives.
I feel like we should have had a religious guest here to explain all of this.
We have wiki
belief.
Wiki belief, exactly.
I mean, like, reading about it and then having someone actually explain it to you.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to ask someone, like, what does it taste like to you when
Right.
you do the ritual thing?
Yeah.
Like the little bread. Is it even bread?
It
looks
bread,
like a
yes.
little chip.
It is bread.
It's bread. Okay.
We'll get into that later. I think I looked into it a little bit. Yeah, so some sacraments have a communal aspect to it as well. It's also just a way for people to come together as one. So there's a community side of things too. They are not so much as things we do, but for anyway. Sorry, skip that part. Yeah. So again, it's a sacrament. Essentially, it's just a way for people who believe in all of this to strengthen their connection with themselves and the God they believe in. I think that's the most simple way to kind of put it, I guess. In the Roman Catholic Church, there are 7 sacraments: the baptism, the confirmation, the Eucharist, penance, anointing of the sick, marriage, and holy orders. Y'all can
Only
Google.
heard of maybe 2 of them.
But yeah, there's 7. Today we're only looking at the sacrament of the Eucharist.
Yes.
So according to the Vatican, the sacrament of the Eucharist is the source and summit of all Christian life. The Vatican is, I guess, the home base of the Roman Catholics.
HQ.
Yeah. Actually, I've been there once. There's a Filipino restaurant in the middle
Inside
of Vatican. Yeah, in
of the
Vatican City. It
Vatican?
was pretty dope.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Was it made of blood of Christ?
No, it was just Filipino food, Angel.
I'm like, newsflash, Jollibee is made of Jesus.
Jollibee is Jesus.
Jolly Jesus.
Yep.
Jesus bee?
Yeah. But I think, we were looking at it. It's like, I guess it makes a lot of sense, but the only embassy we found was also the Philippine embassy in Vatican. And I'm like, well, I mean, I guess most of the Catholics are Filipino, so
Oh.
I don't know. It was
Is
pretty
it
fun.
a primarily Catholic country?
The
I
Philippines,
guess,
yeah.
From
Pretty
those
much.
colonists, huh?
Yeah, Spaniards. Thanks, Spain.
Thanks, Spain. Is Spain even predominantly Catholic anymore?
I don't think so.
They're
but-
like, here, have this.
Yeah.
Bye.
But did you have, like, is it the Sagrada de Familia, which is this super fancy church by, I can't remember the architect, but it's so nice. It's like this architect's vision was like to build nature.
And
As
there's
a
a
church.
Jollibee inside?
No,
Oh.
unfortunately. But it was hell of an experience. It was fucking cool.
Oh,
I recommend
I
anyone.
would love to go.
I think they plan to finally finish that.
Ooh. How long has it been since you've been
Like
there?
I was there last year,
Okay.
but they were trying to
Cute.
finish that thing for its 100th or some anniversary of something. Anyway, according to the Vatican, when they talk about the Eucharist,
I keep thinking the eucalyptus.
it's good for your skin.
Yeah. Feeds koalas.
Yeah, eat skin to get better skin.
You eat Jesus to become Jesus. Is that how? That's not how it works.
In some ways, actually, it does. Well, to have Jesus in you, something like that.
Until you turn him into poop.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's why I have to go
That's
back
kinda
every
rude.
week. So the Eucharist kind of takes on all the other sacraments, and then according to the Vatican, indeed, all ministries and works of the Church are bound up with the Eucharist and oriented towards it. For in the Blessed Eucharist is contained the whole spiritual good of the Church, namely Christ himself. The Holy Eucharist completes Christian initiation. Those who have been raised to the dignity of the royal priesthood by baptism and configured more deeply to Christ by confirmation participate with the whole community in the Lord's own sacrifice by means of the Eucharist. That's kind of what the Vatican explains the Eucharist to be, so it seems like, you probably heard, you said some of the other sacraments in there, so I guess it's like you need to do some of the other sacraments to be able to get to the Eucharist, and when you get to the Eucharist, it's like the pinnacle of
Life.
all of it, yeah.
Spirit life.
Yeah. But what exactly is the sacrament of the Eucharist? It's also known as the Holy Communion or the Lord's Supper, at least in Roman Catholic language. It's often practiced during Mass, which is that thing they go to every Sunday or special occasions. For the Catholics, the sacrament copies the Last Supper of Jesus, where he commands his followers to take his body and blood and act in memory of him. So for the Catholics, they take this word of Jesus quite literally and continue to take the bread and wine which they believe to be substantially changing to his body and blood, and do it all in his memory. Now, do all Christians believe in transubstantiation? No. not all groups of Christianity believe in it. Some don't actually even believe in it at all, while some believe variations of it. So, for example, another group called the Lutherans believe in this thing called the real presence, which in the body and blood of Christ are present with you in person and under the elements of the bread and wine. So it's still bread and wine, but the body and blood kind of just are present there.
Okay.
I don't know.
So the substance doesn't transmog.
No, it doesn't transmogrifate.
Notice how I'm throwing wow terms in.
Is that a
It is. You can transmog
what's
your gear
Oh.
to look like another set of gear.
See? It's the same thing.
Oh, wow. Teaching us lessons.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, holy. Isn't there like a priest? Actually, I'm pretty sure my priest
Did you play a priest?
my priest played a priest, I think, in WoW. He was a big
your
WoW.
priest played priest.
Yeah, I remember in high school. He was talking about WoW. And
Of course he would
we
be a
knock into his
priest.
office and he's like playing WoW. He wasn't trying to hide it or anything.
He's drinking the wine and playing WoW.
Yeah. That's how I realized. I'm like, okay, so these priests do have normal lives.
Yeah, do you think they just disappear
Yeah.
after mass? They just walk into a closet and then close it and then they shut down.
Yeah, in a like vampires or something. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how.
He's still a priest,
Yeah.
even online. He's
Yeah.
a priest.
Yeah, he played a lot because it's like isn't level 70 the maximum?
Back in the
Yeah.
day, it was 70. Yeah.
Yeah, so he had like 2 or 3 of those.
He only plays priest
Yeah.
because he can't.
I think he had other ones.
deviate.
What's the most opposite one? I'm sure he had that one too.
A warlock, I guess.
He probably had a warlock. Too. I don't know. But yeah, when it comes to the Lutheran belief of this real presence, it's usually misunderstood as co-substantiation, which is that the body and blood exist in substance at the same time as the bread and wine. So the piece that you have is exactly both the body and blood and the bread and wine at the same time,
Oh,
substantially. That's not what they mean by real presence. It's just that the body and blood are present with the bread and wine. So it's not that. It's like, I guess, more, it creates an aura
Oh, okay.
around the bread and wine rather than actually the bread and wine exactly is
There's no like.
exactly the same.
Okay, yeah. I just watched Get Out.
Oh, yeah?
That was what I was picturing. I'm like, it's the body of a bread,
Right.
but the spirit. Sorry, spoilers. Oh my God, we're
Yeah,
just
spoilers.
spoiling everything.
But that's a good example, I think, of transubstantiation, but you define substance as the soul or a mind of a person.
Right.
Right.
Like
Same
the
thing with brand.
consciousness.
Yeah. Or you choose, if consciousness is how you define a substance, then changing somebody's consciousness means that you don't actually change them physically, sort of. You change them depending on how you see mind and soul. But anyway.
Can I just throw another spoiler since we're on the spoiler train?
Sure.
Detective Pikachu.
Oh, so
Also, right?
Yeah.
Because you're putting a
Yes.
person into a Pokemon.
good. Yes. Yep. That's another good example. That was a good movie.
Oh yeah, it was so good.
I think, well, by the time this comes out, we've passed
we passed the spoiler
heat, yeah.
heat gate.
It's like if you haven't watched these films by now, you
Should go watch them.
you have the
immediately.
right to be spoiled. You've earned the right. Congratulations.
Wait, can we deviate for a sec? Who is your partner Pokemon?
It's a Jigglypuff.
Oh, Jigglypuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
Or is it Turtwig, the turtle?
Turtwig, yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those two. Or I guess Blastoise would be the turtle, but
Squirtle.
yeah.
There's several turtle-y ones.
Yeah.
I think.
Like it's either a turtley Pokemon or probably a Jigglypuff.
After like the first gen, I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's some pretty. There's just some weird ones. Anyway.
Yeah, some of them it's just like, who designed this and what were they on?
Yeah.
And can I have some, please?
But yeah, that movie was good. If you haven't
It
seen
was great.
Detective Pikachu, please watch it. It's really good.
Amazing.
The twist was awesome.
The twist that we
We
kind
did
of
not
just,
spoil it.
No.
I mean,
okay.
yeah, we did. What?
I don't know. Just go watch it.
Yeah, so that's essentially transubstantiation. The history of it, it was incorporated into the documents in the Roman Catholic Church in the Council of Trent in 1545 to 1563. from what I've heard, the Council of Trent was not the best council of the Roman Catholics. I think there's a lot of really shady shit that happened in there. And anyway, that's based on my
You
memory.
wanted to talk about
Someone-
shady and in Catholic Church?
Well, that's when they had the more in like a belief system really kind of fucked things over. Anyway, that's what I heard. Someone can probably correct me on it, but you could look into the Council of Trent. I'm pretty sure that's when all the really weird stuff happened that wasn't really fixed until Vatican II, from what I remember. I don't know. This is a long time since I last studied religious stuff. In the mid-20th century, some Roman Catholic theologians then restarted the doctrine of Christ's Eucharistic presence, so kind of tried to get rid of this idea of transubstantiation. They shift the emphasis of change of substance to a change of meaning, and they coined the term transsignification or transfinalization to be used. So it's more of that by definition rather than by substance it changes, which in 1965, Pope Paul VI called for retention of the dogma and went back to transubstantiation. The belief itself is interpreted straight from the Bible. So in the Bible, the way the Bible works is there's different chapters, which are like the chapter, or different books within the Bible. So, and then each book will have a chapter and a verse. So, for example, when I say in John 6:53, it would be the book of John, chapter 6, verse 53. I don't know why they did it this way. It does help for quoting stuff and make it convenient for convenient Christians to coin certain terms and ignore certain terms, so that's kind of nice for them. But in John 6:53 it says, "So Jesus said to them, 'Truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you.'" It's kind of sad. In Luke 22:19-21 it says, "He took the bread, which he then gave in thanks, broke it, and gave it to them, saying, 'This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me.' In the same way, after supper, he took the cup, saying, 'This is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you.'" So as you can see, the Catholics literally took this line and made it into practice, where they said, "This is bread is now his body, this cup is now his blood." And they kind of took it literally and kept doing it in remembrance of him.
That's not how I would have interpreted it.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you can drink in the name of Jesus.
Yeah,
but without thinking that it's his blood.
Yeah. But that's how they interpreted it back in
Whenever they
1,500 years later. In Matthew 26:26-29, it also says the same thing. While they were eating, Jesus took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it, gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body." Then he took a cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink from this fruit of the vine from now on until the day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom."
What if Jesus was a masochist and he literally wanted people to eat him?
I mean, maybe.
You don't know.
He knew he was going to die and still went for it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he was so altruistic that he's like, if you're hungry, now's your chance to have a barbecue.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's not how I would have interpreted it. It's more like how I think about it is, he's like, I will be with you even though I'm not here.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That's how I...
Yeah,
It's
right?
like, yeah.
It's like, guys, I think, if I remember right, there was like a Bible thing about talking about how, like, when I come back, you better not still be doing the same things. Which the whole practice of Christianity seems to be revolved around keeping
the same
to
thing.
do the same thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Jesus, now's a good time to come back.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like he'll come here and he'll be like, fuck.
Yeah.
And then leave immediately.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm of the belief that Jesus was one of the many woke people back then.
Very woke.
You know, like,
right.
There were a lot of different people. Jesus was just one of them. Like, I don't know. I feel it's so selfish of humans to think that there was just one dude.
Right. Of course it has to be
connected.
a dude.
Yeah. Who was that connected to God? Like, I don't know. There's so many other religions and so many other ways to perceive it. Like,
exactly.
to each their own. I don't know.
This is a whole nother study
I
area.
know. It's like about speaking of food.
Back to the blood
Yeah.
and bread.
So a lot of people ask whether this thing is really. A lot of people ask whether this thing is really real or not. I think it's safe to say to the believers, yes, it's real. It's very. As we mentioned, it's not like they believe that the bread and wine physically turns into the body and blood. They just think of it as substantially changing, which is very hard to prove, or it's not really something you prove scientifically or not. So I just go ahead and say that if the believers believe
Sure.
it, sure.
Yeah.
Are they deluded in thinking of that? I don't know. That's to them.
I think so.
Like, I'm sure I've believed something to be what it's not at some point in my life, and I'll leave it to them.
Oh, definitely. I used to think I can fly on a broom like a witch.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I just, kind of sit on a broom and jump off the patio
Yeah.
in the back. Gravity hurts, man.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. Let
Let
you
the
believe-
believers
yeah.
believe.
Yeah. If Angel wants to fly out here with a broom, I don't have a broom for her, but
Well, we can stop at the
by
dollar store.
all means. Another question that I was asking is whether or not it actually tastes good. So if you're ever planning to
That
have
was my
it,
number one
yeah.
question.
I think it's the most important part.
Yes.
But if you ever plan to have it, it just tastes like bread and wine.
I've been told it tastes like stale wine and the bread tastes like nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. Often services take about an hour for that service to happen, and to get this bread and wine takes about an hour just sitting there listening to the priest or whatever and singing songs to get one wafer, which is like the size of maybe a toonie.
Yeah, it's a coin.
Yeah,
Like a
and
casino chip.
a sip of wine. So if you're coming in hungry and plan to celebrate with food, not the best place to go.
Okay, my question is, do you sip the wine out of one goblet?
Yeah,
Like everybody
everyone
does?
sips
That
off one,
is
yeah.
a disease central.
Yeah, I mean, general common practice if you're sick. Don't take it.
Unsanitary.
Yeah. They wipe the lip.
Okay, they wipe it, but you can't just wipe away like the flu virus.
No, but that's why usually, at least, I think our priest used to always just say, if you're sick, don't come to church.
I mean, they could just divvy it out in those little ketchup
Yeah.
cups. It would be more.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Less-
part of the
less
ritual.
gross.
They all believe in, doing things together. I don't know. So the
Yeah,
bread,
sharing spit is not something that I'm into
No.
with like
you don't
50
have to
other
drink
people.
the wine either.
Okay,
right?
but I'm there to get wasted.
I mean, so Angel, it takes about a sip of anything with alcohol to get her drunk. So we've been talking about doing drunk episodes, and
That's the thing
it'd
that
be
should
like
happen.
a 5-minute episode for her. And be the rest of the show is just me talking to a passed out Angel.
Might hear me snoring in the background.
Yeah. So I don't know. We might do it. Who knows?
No, we should definitely do it. We'll
Okay,
have
we'll
more
do it.
guests too,
Yeah.
who are capable of processing alcohol,
Yeah.
just to take my place
Yeah.
in case.
There we go. Fair enough. We'll get more microphones too. So what is exactly in the bread, so we better understand why it tastes so stale?
Flour.
Yes. So often this sacramental bread is a thin and round unleavened wafer. Unleavened means unfermented bread, or matzah. It also essentially means unfermented means there's no raising agents like yeast or whatnot. It just is flat.
Straight up flour.
Yeah. Which is why these wafers are very thin, and that's why there's not really much flavor in it. It's just bread used for sacrament before it blesses, and then before they bless it or go through the sacrament, or before it goes through transubstantiation, like we said, it's just bread. There's nothing special about it. I mean, depending on your belief, even after it goes through transubstantiation, it's still just bread. I know for Catholics, for example, if it's not blessed, you could drop it, you could crush it, you could do whatever the hell you want with it. But the moment it gets blessed, it turns into this holy object that you're not supposed to waste, and blah, blah, blah.
How does it get blessed? Is it a priest?
It goes
thing?
through the sacrament of the Eucharist.
Oh, okay,
So that's
okay.
the whole.
That's the whole thing.
sacrament of the Eucharist.
Oh, I
is
thought
when-
they like do a separate thing to specifically
no.
bless the bread.
That's the whole sacrament is specifically to bless the bread into changing its substance and
okay.
to bless. Sorry, I don't think I clarify that. So yeah, the sacrament of the Eucharist is their way of blessing the bread and the wine.
Okay, okay.
And-
I
and
thought it was like
their-
I don't know. I thought it was like a fancier mass.
No, every mass they do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so every mass they go through this sacrament, and this happens. So anytime before the sacrament happens, it's just bread and wine. After that, it's treated differently.
You
So-
have to be baptized
Yeah.
to have one. Because I lined up once. And they were like,
Yeah.
be gone, devil.
Yeah.
Like, is it written on my face that I'm not baptized? How
Just
can you
feel it.
tell?
So he had napkins. Angel walked in with a plate.
Like, I'm ready to go. I brought my own hot sauce.
Like, I thought it was a buffet table. Interestingly, during the sacrament of the Eucharist as well, the priest would drop a piece of bread into the wine. This is one of the weird
That's mushy.
facts that were done out of practicality at first and then converted to have meaning after. So back in ancient Rome, Christians who lived far from Rome back then could not always travel all the way to Rome to get the Eucharist. So back in Rome, the bishop would then break some of the bread based on the number of groups missing, and this piece would be called the fermentum. Then later, a minister would bring this fermentum to the groups, drop the fermentum into a chalice with, I think, either water or wine, where people would then be able to drink from it. So communally, they'd be able to take part into consuming the body of Christ. Over time, the Pope would then set this piece aside for the next celebration, and then add that extra piece to the next celebration's chalice. This was used as a symbol for the continual sacrifice of Jesus. And then priests eventually imitated this action and now has become a symbol of Christ's resurrection. So for people who don't know, there's a belief that Jesus died and came back from the dead. So this dropping the bread into the wine is a symbol of that now, of him coming back to life. They believe it because it's like a body without blood is dead. But when Christ's body is reunited with his blood, then he comes back to life. It's like a vampire
That's the
thing.
sound that
Yeah.
I imagine Jesus making when he wakes up. It's like instantly moisturized,
Yep.
like dropping water, those towels that are like compressed. It's like dropping that into a bowl of water.
Pretty much. But like, remember those toys growing up? It's like a little toy, and then you put it in water.
Yes, it turns into a dinosaur.
That is true facts. How
True
the
facts,
resurrection.
that's how Jesus works.
Yeah. So something again that was practical turned into something symbolic. Cool. Sacramental wine, on the other hand, is just as boring as sacramental bread. Unfortunately.
I bet it's like
Yeah.
$2 chuck.
Sort of. Well, not really. Maybe. I mean, in some ways, it would be. That's what you would think of it, because by church law, I guess, sacramental wine must come from natural grapes of the vine and not corrupted, meaning it can't have been soured or turned into vinegar or have any artificial additives into it. The grapes that they use for sacramental wine are Vitis vinifera, which is just the common grapevine.
Mm.
So it's as
Wait,
common and as
If
basic
something
as
turns
it
into
can be.
vinegar, then it can't be wine anymore. Unless you turn it into vinegar and then you turn it into wine. But I don't really know how winemaking works.
Well, I think
So-
it's like if it gets soured, the wine or fermentation
Uh.
process. I don't know, but yeah.
Okay,
Because if it's I don't know, if you keep wine for too long, it turns into vinegar, right?
exactly.
So you just can't
So
have grapes.
I thought the
that are-
progression is grapes, wine, vinegar. So if it's
Yeah.
already been vinegar, it can't go back to wine.
No, so essentially, you just can't use. I guess they just check each grape to make sure it's not old.
Gross.
Yeah.
Okay. Young grapes only.
Yeah. When it comes to sacramental wine, it also has one of those things that were done out of practicality and turned into symbolic meaning. So during the Eucharist ritual, you might see a priest add water into the wine when he's blessing it. Originally, water was added to wine back in ancient Greece because it made the taste of wine better, because wine back then was thick, strong, and kind of gross.
Too concentrated.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have fancy processes back then. They just drank.
Good people, good people.
Yeah, so the water made it
Definitely
better.
people I am not related to or
Yeah.
descended from, because
Nope.
I'm sure none of my ancestors ever touched alcohol.
Yeah, well, they did. So it's similar to, I guess, how you would put Coke into Jack Daniels to make it not as strong.
Is it the other way?
Yeah, they put water into the wine so it doesn't become as strong.
Oh,
It's similar.
like which one do you not want strong, the Coke or the Jack Daniels?
The Jack Daniels.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would definitely be the Coke for me.
So today, adding water has become more of a symbolic representation that represents humanity. water representing humanity and wine representing divinity. So
That or they just want more liquid.
could be too saving costs.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yes, and now it's combining humanity and divinity, like combining water and wine. You can't separate it after, so it's the same symbolism of like you can't separate the human from the divine, just like how through Jesus humanity is not separated from God anymore. It's a cute story.
It is cute.
But yeah, unfortunately, to answer the question, is it good? It's pretty much as basic as you can get when it comes to bread and wine. This is the most basic version of bread and wine that you could have.
Yeah, after your priest plays WoW, he goes to the liquor store and picks up the cheapest box wine. Like in a box.
Actually, I think they order it from like a special
Like a
church
religious wine store?
winemaker. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I mean, some of the best wine and beers out there were like made by monks.
They also invented pretzels.
Yeah. Like in Belgium, I think we went to this one place, had like the best beer I've ever had, and it was like a monk, a
Belgian
Trappist.
beer.
It was a Trappist beer, just made by
Nice.
monks. Oh, it was so good. Like, damn. I guess when you're really like bored of praying, the best way is
All
just
day.
drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I wonder where. Now I'm curious. Now I want to find where they buy the wine from
Yeah,
or the wafers.
you could.
I think you can just order
You just
them.
buy it. Yeah, you just order it.
Amazon.
Yeah, I remember my family and I visited like a bread making place in the Philippines. So my brother was like holding out this big piece of bread, which they cut into smaller pieces. It's funny because the big piece comes in a big circle, and then they cut it into smaller circles. And I'm thinking like,
You're wasting a lot of.
not the
Bread.
optimal size, yeah. To make-
Right.
Anyway, so there's a big circle piece that a lot of the smaller pieces come from. I guess because sometimes the priest will hold like a bigger piece. I don't know. He gets all the food.
He gets the big one.
Bastard.
It's like healer needs mana.
Yeah.
I get the bread.
Yep. But yeah, that's pretty much it about transubstantiation. And sorry again for people who expected a very food
Foodie
heavy
base.
thing. This one did not get me. Actually, just got me hungry because I'm thinking, man, they don't
It
get
is.
to eat.
It's lunchtime though.
It's true, it is lunchtime too.
Would you eat the Jesus wafer with peanut butter and jelly
Maybe.
on the DL, so you're not offending anyone at
See,
church?
you put the peanut butter in your mouth as you receive it.
And then just
Yeah.
I've been blessed.
Blessed PBJ. Ooh, peanut butter Jesus. PBJ.
I'm doing the cross thing with my hands. I'm probably doing it wrong.
Looks like the ABBA dance, and you're like,
So are you supposed to use your right hand
I think
or your
so.
left hand?
I don't know. I think
don't
it's
know.
right hand. They're like
Right hand.
against left-handed people.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I think I used to be a lefty.
I used to get in
or
trouble,
an
I think, for using my left
ambidextrous.
hand.
Oh dang.
Yeah.
I know I sat next to a kid that was left-handed and I was right-handed.
Yeah.
So we kept bumping elbows and then we fought. And the teacher's like, just switch sides. Oh.
That's funny. Actually, yeah. Yeah. That's the struggle.
It was a
Wait, so
struggle.
you're left-handed then?
I used to be ambi.
Oh.
I used to draw with both hands
Right.
until teachers were like, just use your right hand. I'm like,
Right.
okay.
I used to call myself ambi-dumbstruck because
Ambi dump truck.
well, because I would just have the stupidest things. Like I would catch and throw with my left hand, so I couldn't play baseball because I'd have to take my
right.
glove off to throw things out.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like in basketball, I shoot with my left, but I dribble with my
Right.
right, which is good. Actually, it's good for that game, but
Does it confuse people?
a lot. Yeah.
Nice.
But then when it comes to like snowboarding, I'm like, I could do left or right, so I don't know. It was like, are you goofy or regular? I'm like,
Goofy.
I'm goofing this up right now. Yeah. So yeah, that's our episode, I guess, on transubstantiation. Thanks for listening.
Oh, wait. Where are we supposed to talk about what we're eating?
Oh yeah. What we're eating today?
Nothing interesting here, but I know you went on a trip recently.
Oh yeah. We recently went to LA. Actually, there is something interesting that we ate there. So we went to this HBO party thing, and they were serving these mini foods, and there was this taco that was maybe the size of my the end bit of my pinky. Like, what do you call
Oh,
this
it's a
bit?
tiny taco.
Yeah, it's a tiny taco. And it tasted good, but
It's so tiny.
yeah, it was like, I'm not kidding. It's the size of my, not my pinky finger, like that
The
last,
top notch.
the top notch of my pinky.
Wow.
It was that small. But it had every element of a taco. So when you bit into it, it tasted like a
taco.
full taco.
Is it a taco
But you also
for
knew,
ants?
yeah, because it just it's so small, it just melted in your mouth. So you're like, well, I want more now.
Did they come back with a tray?
No, they just came back with more small food again.
Wow. Wait.
White people
HBO.
run this thing? Like, give me some
Like, we don't have the
food.
budget.
Yeah.
We spent it all on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and the open
So,
bar. So
Here you go.
yeah.
Oh, funny
There was
thing.
an open bar, and it was fun. So it was good.
One more thing about LA, like California in general,
Yeah.
and religious. Did you go to In-N-Out?
In-N-Out, yes.
Did you notice that on the bottom of all their wrappers have a Bible verse?
No,
Mm.
I am too hungry to deal with that. I did discover recently that my dislike for In-N-Out came from the fact that I don't like the cheese in the burger. I don't like cheese in burgers. So I
You don't like cheese and burgers.
the
Ooh.
regular hamburger was really good, but the cheeseburger did not taste good to me. So
Mm.
I think back when I first tried it, I didn't like it because I ordered a cheeseburger. So now I'm just gonna
Ah.
order the regular hamburger.
Oh, it's always a 4x4 for me.
Yeah. Oh really? Nice. I get
Which
two
is
hamburgers.
a lot of meat and cheese.
So like 4 cheese. You could do that?
Yeah, you just
Oh, you just ask for it?
Just get a 4x4. Yeah, you can get a 2x2 or 4x4. If you really
Right.
want to kill yourself, you can get like a 6x6
Right.
and protein style.
Nice.
That means no bread.
Damn. Can you get rice? Asian protein style?
That would be Asian carb style.
Yeah. I
I
get
don't
2
know.
hamburgers.
2 hamburgers.
No
Nice.
fries. Just 2 hamburgers.
Yeah, you could have
That's
just.
really good.
It is good. Next time, look
Yeah.
for the Bible verse.
Mhm.
It's not
I
like
will.
the full verse. It's just like John whatever
Right.
verse
Oh,
whatever,
okay.
you know.
Interesting.
And then I guess you're just supposed to know what it means,
Oh,
which
okay.
I don't. So.
So if you get one of the what's the quotes that what were the Bible verses from this episode? So if I get John 6:53, I know this is the body of Jesus then that I'm eating. Is that how it works?
This cheeseburger is Jesus. Or this burger without cheese because Mick is a monster.
Yeah, I don't like cheese. But I did find out that the Shake Shack in California is not as good as the Shake Shack in the East Coast. So
I've never been to a Shake Shack in LA.
yeah, I wouldn't recommend Shake Shack in LA. It's
I went
gross.
to-
It's very bad. It doesn't even taste like the Shake Shack I've had in New York.
I went to the New York one. Or a New York one.
Yeah.
'cause there's many.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. So my friend from San Fran did a Facebook post. It's like slightly controversial topic. Shake Shack is extremely overrated and gross. In my mind, I'm like,
You just
In-
haven't had the right Shake
in
Shack.
the West Coast, yes, the Shake Shack is gross. But
Well, I
Shake
think
Shack in the
it's-
East Coast is good.
Yeah, it's definitely regional because McDonald's in America is actually like
Oh, it's so
not.
gross. Oh, I do not eat McDonald's in America.
It's not
It's
edible.
disgusting. No, yeah. Canadian McDonald's is like
It's pretty good.
good.
Well, it's not really good. It's edible.
yeah.
It's fine.
Exactly.
It's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, so for anyone out there by In-N-Out, if you ever get an In-N-Out that has John 6:53 or Luke 22:19 to 21 or Matthew 26 to 29,
Let us know.
yeah, because you'll be eating Jesus.
Ooh. Animal style.
Yeah, make sure. I think they only give it. They give those wrappers when it's animal style.
Oh, I want it. This is Smörgåsbord. Have a food-related ritual, myth, or something strange you want us to explore? Send us a message through Facebook at Geek Happy Network. We'd love to hear from our fellow foodie listeners. And while you're there, remember to subscribe or follow us too. This show was created by Angel Lynn and Mik Narciso, hosted by Angel Lynn and Mik Narciso, editing by Mik, and logo by Angel. Thanks for listening. For more GHN shows like the Monster Slayer's Guide to Slaying Monsters, Come give us a listen at geekhappynetwork.com or look for us on your favorite podcast app. Oh, and be sure to follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Geek Happy Network.